Welcome to the Bookish Ballerina Podcast, where we talk about ballet, stories, art, science, economics, music, and everything in between. I'm your host, Eleanor Stewart, and I am a rather bookish ballerina. Today, my guest is the wonderful Tyrone Brooks, the Tallahassee Ballet's artistic director. We discuss his life story and the values by which he seeks to lead. I hope you enjoy. Okay, what is your story?
Well, it's been a journey. I first fell in love with movement dance at a very young age. I will say that I was a product of an outreach community engagement program where one day some friends of mine, we were just running through the halls of the community center and just by chance stumbled upon a door and opened the door and there were some girls dancing. And for some reason, that really sparked my attention.
Yeah.
And I was maybe 9, 10 years old. That was the early part.
Mm-hmm.
But then much later, a neighbor of mine, she used to dance with a ballet company. And she asked me one day if I wanted to come and watch her rehearse. And I said, sure. So I did, and I fell in love with ballet. I was so intrigued for watching dance and seeing what your body would do and watching the girls on point. And the director said, young man, can you jitterbug? And I said, I don't know exactly what that is. So she showed me what a jitterbug was. And next thing I knew, I was performing.
I love that.
They were in preparation to do a performance, and they rolled me and my partner up in a flag, and we jitterbugged. And that was like the very beginning. And after that, of course, me being a male, they offered me a scholarship, and I started taking ballet.
Where was that?
This was in Newport News, Virginia.
Okay. Very cool. So where did you go from there?
From there, I stopped for a while, and as I got into high school, I became a gymnast. And I did gymnastics. But at the same time, I was still very much interested in ballet, and I took a few classes here and there, but it was my junior year, I decided that if I really wanted to dance, that I needed to stop doing gymnastics and really study. Because in 1977, I saw the Dance Theatre of Harlem at Ogden Hall in Hampton Institute at the time. Now it was called Hampton University, and it changed my life. I had never seen people of color on stage, not just people of color on stage, but people of color in tutus with brown legs. Because you open up a book, you see Caucasian legs and pink tutus and pink tights. But this is the first time that I saw people of color, and it changed my life. And I said, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I was inspired, and I started following the Dance Theatre of Harlem. And a couple of years later, they came back, and I auditioned for the summer program, and I got a scholarship to the school for the summer. Ooh. But at the same time, knowing that I was a senior in high school, I needed a job. Yes. So I also auditioned for Busch Gardens, and I got a job as a clogger.
That's awesome.
I was a clogger at Busch Gardens. I got the job. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, I got a letter in the mail saying, you've been awarded a full scholarship to Dance Theatre of Harlem. So I chose to go to New York. But during that time, I had just purchased a car. Okay. So therefore, I sold my car because I had to pay my way to New York out of the money that I had saved. But during that time, I was still working. I was help coaching gymnastics after school. Oh. So therefore, I always worked.
Yes. Very cool. So you were 18?
I was 18.
Okay, cool.
18 in New York.
Wow.
Big city.
Yes.
For a country boy.
I imagine. So what was it like adjusting to New York?
It was a huge adjustment, I think, for the most part. Having the freedom that I wasn't accustomed to having, because my parents were very strict. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was also very mindful of my surroundings. Of course, coming from Virginia to New York, a big city, but seeing so many things, it opened my eyes Seeing some things I had never seen before, hearing things I had never before, being in a place that was so diverse. My upbringing was in a diverse community. You know, my neighbors were diverse. My high school, but even more so going to New York. But at the same time, it was a little scary. I recall the end of my first week, if not the end, calling my mom saying I wanted to come home because I wasn't accustomed to dancing from 9 until 5. So it was a rude awakening, and my body was sore, and my mom was like, "Are you injured?" I said, "No." She said, "Are you afraid?" I said, "No." She said, "Well, suck it up. I'll see you in 8 weeks."
I love that.
By the end of the second week, I was okay. I had adapted, but it was a culture shock as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what was your first performance with them?
My first performance with the Dance Theatre of Harlem, I cannot remember,
Okay.
but I do recall. Timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the school. I had returned after the summer, and Glenn Tetley, which is a European choreographer, was coming to restage a ballet called Greening. And Mr. Mitchell, Arthur Mitchell, the director, said for the strongest men in this school to learn a particular role. And I was one of those guys. And Mr. Tetley came in and chose me. And a couple of weeks later, I was on tour.
Wow.
And that was the very beginning of my career.
So, where all did you tour with?
Oh, my. London, Italy, Spain, Israel, Johannesburg, South Africa, Brazil. I would say by the time I was 23, I'd basically seen the world. And it was so exciting. We were in such a place because Dance Theatre of Harlem, the word Harlem is magical. So during the time you hear Harlem, you think negative. But because of who we are, the first and the only African American ballet company, we had to be better. So we were challenged. So therefore, Arthur Mitchell, Mr. Mitchell, he groomed us. We were all a very young company. You know, I was 18 at the time. But we were all conditioned to be the best.
Yes.
You know, we had to be caught up on current events. We had to look well. So therefore, whenever we got off the plane, we had to dress nice going to the airport. We had many receptions at embassies, so therefore we had to be caught up on current events. He also brought in people from the theater on occasion to give us special workshops in regards to public speaking. He had us do lecture demonstrations, and he challenged us because he says he wanted us to be judged by our character and our level of intelligence, not the color of our skin.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, what are some of your core career memories?
Oh, wow, there's so many. One that sticks out is when we did the 1986 closing ceremonies of the Olympics.
Yes.
In Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
What an incredibly proud moment that was to hear the announcement, representing the United States of America, the Dance Theatre of Harlem dancing to George Balanchine's Stars and Stripes.
Yes.
It was incredible. And to walk out there and see all these people. That was one. And another, I will say, is we were in South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa, for 8 weeks. You see a lot, photographs, you hear a lot. But to get there and really experience the culture, to experience the people, to really see it. Not only were we in Johannesburg, but we went to the townships, to Soweto, to meet the people, to understand how they're living. And there was some sadness, but to them, they were happy.
Yeah. And
only way that the Dance Theatre of Harlem would go to South Africa was that everything was integrated. The orchestra was integrated. The wardrobe was integrated. Everything had to be integrated. We also opened a theater, the Palace Theater, yes. And that opening night, our guest was Nelson Mandela. And one thing that he says, and I always repeat this, is that He says the wonderful thing about the arts is that you can go to theater for an hour and a half, and forget about the troubles of the world.
Yes.
Which is true, and we all know that.
Yes.
And he also said the arts ignite the mind.
Mm-hmm.
For COVID, if it wasn't for the arts, how many of us would have gotten through that? Because we were on lockdown. So what could we do besides listen to some music?
Mm-hmm. Read a book.
Read a book.
Mm-hmm.
Sit, hum, go to the park, watch the trees, watch how the leaves blow, movement, something, yeah. But there was just so many incredible experiences, being able to say, and I look back and say, I did this. I worked with these people. We were in Russia for 6 weeks. During the time, the Soviet Union. Leningrad and Tbilisi, and to say, that I was on the Bolshoi stage.
That's amazing.
Amazing. All those things of being able to. We were in Cairo, in Egypt, for 2 weeks. Being able to say, I was there with the pyramids. We did a photo shoot with the pyramids.
Oh.
So, there's just so many incredible things that Dance Theatre of Harlem, the arts, Arthur and Richard opened up a world for so many people, so many of us. It's such an honor because things have changed now. The world has changed. Economics. When I joined the company was at like 60 dancers. 60 dancers would tour.
Wow.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
It's totally impossible. Look at Israel. I look at today. We were in Israel. We performed at Caesarea, and there was an amphitheater where, funny, at the end of Le Corsaire, a dog ran across the stage. But having all of those incredible moments at Sadler's Wells Theatre in London, when we premiered Giselle on my birthday, July 18th, cool. In London, the Queen was there. So it was just, I've had so many blessings, and this is why, it isn't easy, and nothing that you love is easy. But I can also always look back and say, what a blessed career that I've had. Mm-hmm. And this is why it's important for me to pass that torch. And I want dancers these days, the ones that I work with and not, to have just as a greater opportunity as much as I did. Because I owe them. Because somebody did it for me.
Right. So what was it like to be on tour?
We were on tour more than we were in New York.
Okay.
It was fun. It could be, and sometimes it was just tiring. Mm-hmm. Living out of a suitcase. Well, I will say that we never did a bus and truck.
Okay.
It was rare that we did something like that, and normally it was like maybe 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
But you pack. You have to meet at DTH. You had to pack your luggage, and you had to get your seat assignments. It became routine, but it was always fun because, like I said, we met so many people. We were always in receptions, and we loved to shop. But one thing that was also mandatory is that wherever we were in each city, or especially in Europe, we always had a day of culture. The days that we had off, we could not just hang out and shop. We had to go somewhere to learn about the people and the culture of the city. Yeah. Which is, at the time, we were, at the time, no, I want to shop. But now when I think about it, I'm so glad it happened. Because I learned about the people in Brazil. I learned about the people in Japan, etc. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So, and that's a part of, not just it being an the artist, but also education and social awareness. And that's what's important.
Yes. Wow. Okay, so why is ballet important?
It's movement. It's movement. It's gratifying. It tells stories. It's endless. Mm-hmm. It can be comforting. The discipline, and it's like the things that you learn because you do ballet. Mm-hmm. That discipline, that sense of pride, that sense of focus. Mm-hmm. It's endless.
Yeah.
What do you say to people when you're like trying to get someone to come to see the ballet who's never come before? Who like maybe doesn't think it's a big deal.
I think you have to zero in is what kind of personality that they have.
Okay.
And how do you make it sound fun?
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a people's person. I can zero in and say, okay, let me try this angle. And a part of being a director is also, going into people's heads and saying, okay, how do I convince this person? Because it's the same thing that you do when you want something. So as me seeing someone, just strike up a conversation, and perhaps maybe they know of someone, or just someone that's popular, say a Misty Copeland, and just kind of say, I know Misty Copeland and blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
But so there's so many ways to get around that,
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. How do you know Misty Copeland?
I know of her.
Oh. Okay.
I know of her.
Got it. How did you get into arts leadership?
Through Dance Theatre of Harlem. When I used to teach at the Dance Theatre of Harlem School, I was also the associate director of Dancing Through Barriers, which was created by the name of Dancing Through Barriers by Nelson Mandela. Dancing Through Barriers, everyone has a barrier.
Yeah.
I was associate director, which was the performing arm of the Dance Theatre of Harlem School, which also had a program that was affiliated with the Kennedy Center. Every year, I would go there for 10 weeks, every 10 weekends, and work with those that were a part of that program, almost like a dance chance, community outreach, engagement program. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. I also work with New York City's public school system. Dance Theatre of Harlem was the first to do the Annenberg Project. The Annenberg Project was a part of New York City teachers going into the school to help the teachers with their curriculum, which is social studies and math, etc. So I was a part of that as well. So from that on, it just kind of grew with having that experience, and not just working with, the Kennedy Center program, but also in Miami. I worked a lot in Miami and worked with Newport School of the Arts. And so when opportunity came for me to do the community dance program in Lynchburg, Virginia, I had it under my belt. I had that experience as far as, teaching in classrooms and making things work as far as this curriculum. But what happened was I was asked to start a community dance program in Lynchburg, Virginia. And I was from New York at the time. I had gone there for a summer program. And I said, this is great. It was time for me to leave New York. I wanted to try something new. And I had that experience. So I did. I moved to Lynchburg, Virginia, started a community dance program, and it was awesome. It was the first time that institution had a community program and diversity. And end of the summer, I returned to New York because I wasn't sure if this was going to be the place for me. So I kept my apartment. Yeah. And the board chair called and says, when you're coming back, I want to speak with you. And I got back, and he said, well, the executive director of Virginia School of the Arts, I should tell you, Virginia School of the Arts is a pre-professional boarding school. So it had 2 dormitories and a school. I was asked to run the school. And I said, I know nothing about running a school. Huge responsibility. And I said, well, how long do I have to decide? He was like, 5 minutes.
Oh, goodness.
I know, right? And I said, I know nothing. He said, well, we'll send you to Lynchburg College. And they did for business administration. And it was a 12-week course where I was there from 9 to 5, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a half a day on Saturdays.
Okay.
It was exciting at first. It was all new to me, and I was the youngest in the class because it was for professionals. And by the end, I was so fried because I still had to go to Virginia Schoolhouse and do my job.
Yes.
But I learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
I learned so much, and basically, it's really common sense. It's how we look at it. You know,
Right.
I began to think differently, but it was challenging.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even more so going to college at 40. I was 40 years old.
Yeah.
But the board of directors paid for it. So how can I say no to opportunity?
Right. Right. That's so cool.
So that prepared me for where I am today, in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I went to New Orleans, and I was director of education for a minute. Just those past experiences,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and sitting on boards, diversity boards, and the opera board, and listening
Mm-hmm.
to people negotiate and see how things happen, and being a part of panels,
Yes.
which was an incredible experience in regards to panels that were making decisions in regards to funds.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned so much from that.
Yes.
How detailed and how difficult it was, because putting something on paper to make it look absolutely beautiful when you're over, when you have so many applicants in front of you.
Right. Yeah.
Because what I did, I sat on the panel of Virginia Commission for the Arts.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And also, there was a commission here that I did as well in Florida.
Okay.
So with all that, you know, and just working with people, and the best advice that I've always gotten was be quiet, just look and learn what not to do.
Interesting. So what brought you to Florida?
Well, in the early 80s or 90s, I should say, Dance Theatre of Harlem used to come to Florida State University School of Dance, and I used to do a master class. I used to do master classes for the week and hold auditions for Dance Theatre of Harlem summer program.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how my relationship started with Florida State. And through the years when I was available, I would come in, do some master classes, and that's how it started, yeah.
Okay.
And whenever I was available, Patty Phillips, who was the chair at the time, would always call me and say, are you available? We need someone that can do X, Y, and Z. So that's how that relationship started.
Okay. And so when did you move to Florida?
I became a permanent resident in 2010.
Okay. And that was to teach at FSU at the time,
That was
right?
the teaching at FSU at the time. And then after that, I went to New Orleans for a year or so, and then returned.
Uh-huh.
And I started this position 2013-14 season.
Got it. How did you get involved with the Tallahassee Ballet?
Well, Rick McCullough, my predecessor, who was the artistic director, on occasions would ask me to come and teach, either in the school or if I would cover for someone or whatever, and that's how I started teaching them. But interesting, which I found out later, my audition for for my role was I taught a company class.
Uh-huh.
I was told it was an audition class for dancers. Come to find out, it was an audition for me.
Oh.
Because there were a lot of these board members in class, and I remember saying, why are these people? Oh, they're members of the board that just want to watch da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
And they were watching me. That was my audition.
Wow.
Interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
You never do.
I was like, because I was like, why are all these people in here?
Mm-hmm.
KK, some board members, they were all, yeah. And it was KK and Joyce and Patty Phillips that were that was very influential as far as me taking this job.
Okay.
Because I didn't want it.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want it because after leaving Virginia School of the Arts after 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want that pressure anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to sit in that position. I didn't want to make those hard decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I decided I just want to be a part of a team
Uh-huh.
and not have that title.
Yeah.
But as they say, God puts you where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
And I ran from this because when I was approached to do this position, I didn't approach Tallahassee Ballet.
Uh-huh.
And for days, I ignored the call, I should say. And finally, my sister says, You got to respond.
Yes.
And I did. Met with the board. Met with Janet, and here I am. And I don't regret it.
Yeah. That's good. If you could teach everyone you met one thing, what would it be?
Kindness.
Hmm.
It goes a long way, and it's free.
Yes.
And being compassionate. And I say this because I've been so fortunate. I hear stories all the time. I've heard incredible stories in regards to dancers and their upbringing, their training, their studios, and the horror in regards to
Right.
studios and their directors and teachers. I never had to go through that.
Yeah.
I was always protected.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I cannot identify because I've never went through that. But when I was in New York, every month I got that check from my mom, and it said in the memo, "This is for your wants and not your needs."
Oh.
When she would ask questions, "How was everything?" I never told her that I had 4 or 5 people sleeping in my apartment because I saw the struggle of my friends who didn't have, and they could come to Tyrone's.
Mm-hmm.
I had a small apartment, but they could stay some was on my floor, and that was always so important because you stuck together as artists,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew my parents would not go for that. But learning that compassion, because I have never worked outside of dance.
Mm-hmm.
I never had to wait tables. I never had to do things that I know so many of my closest friends have had to do to dance, to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I was so fortunate. So I understood, when dancers said, "I'm hungry," or "I need a place to stay, can I crash at your house?" And, and all that is important. That's why I said compassion and be kind to people. Because you never know. You just never know. Because what happens is that at some point, somebody will remind you of how good you were to them. And like I said, I'm very modest. I don't talk about myself or that. Things remind me, like, "Oh, I forgot I did do that." Or someone say, "Remember that?" Yes, because at the end of the day, everything is on this resume, and I've seen this and shook hands. That means absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the end of the day, it's how we treat each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I've never been starstruck because I'm like, I appreciate it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just how, and I think that's my upbringing with, I was raised in the church,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents were strict.
Mm-hmm.
And at times, I'm so glad I had that because it's given me those survival skills.
Yeah.
And to be kind to people regardless of how they've treated me. And I hold that dear. Is don't, because there's karma out there. And I believe in it. And my mom said, "You may not want to be here to see it, but you don't do bad to people because they do bad to you." And that goes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Things have happened, as far as me in a position where just people just mean, because I'm not that one that, and I'll snap back, but I've learned to be quiet and just say, "Okay, I'll deal with this in a different way."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to do on occasion.
Yeah.
But some people aren't that way.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you won't survive. Because things that me personally come to me, you say, "How do you handle that?" You just do. You cry, you pray on it, and you press on.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to always win. That's how I see it. Because of my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing you can do to me. It may hurt me and hurt my feelings, but that's okay at the end of the day. And I will say, because of that, and I have everything I've asked for, Eleanor, I've gotten.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would be the artistic director of the Tallahassee Ballet. I didn't ask for it.
Mhm.
It happens. I'm here because it's supposed to happen.
Mhm.
You know, we're in a different spot because it's supposed to be that way. When I took this job 2013, 14, I was a part of the new place
Right.
because they were moving from Third Avenue.
Mhm.
Janet said, "Come, I want you. Where do you want the mirrors? Where do you want the bars? Brand new place."
Yes.
Now look where we are now.
Mhm.
Has it been easy? No, but what is? And of course, are there moments when I'm like, I'm done? Yes, a lot of days. But then at the same time, there's something that reminds me, you're not done yet. You still got work to do.
Mhm.
You know, people rely on you, they depend on you. And you know, and like I said to you, because you know I'm having some health challenges, it's difficult. But when I get in here and I see the company
Mhm.
and I get in that studio, it makes it all better.
Mhm. Yeah.
And everything having a purpose.
Mhm.
I cannot imagine not having a purpose to get up in the morning.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm doing what I love to do.
Mhm.
What else would I do?
Mhm.
What else feeds my soul? You know, that makes me smile, that makes me cry. You know, a good cry,
Right.
of feeling proud and say, wow. You know, and meeting so many incredible people.
Mhm.
Not often say that.
What is one thing that you want to learn or learn more about right now?
So, for me, I wish I could learn to not carry everything on my shoulders.
Hmm.
And I say, KK used to say, Mr. Brooks, get it off your shoulders.
Mhm.
It's not yours.
Right.
I wish I could adapt that,
Mhm.
but I can't. I think that's because my heart is big, and I do. You know, I take things so personal. You know, I mean, I say it, but I think about it.
Mhm.
In our conversation earlier, what happened last week, I think about those things because I think about I think about how I make people feel,
Mhm.
and I don't want people to feel bad. You know, at the same time, I understand sometimes in my position, I have to be direct. You know, but there's a difference between direct and being mean, and I don't want to come off as mean.
Mhm.
And some people think I'm mean. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But it's hard. It's like where do you find that balance?
Mhm.
But you do.
Right.
But you do, and what's important is that you follow your heart. You know, you follow exactly what works best for you. Someone else may be in this position and say, well, if it was me, I would do that. Then you do it that way.
Mhm.
I don't feel the need because I have this title to be arrogant, to be a bully, to be unkind
Mhm.
because I make the decision.
Mhm.
And I think that's where people get a little confused
Mhm.
because all that you have today can be gone in just the blink of an eye. It can be.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, was it worth it? No. Depends on what it is.
Right. For the people on the podcast who don't know all of these people, who are Joyce and KK?
Joyce Straub Fizzoni was one of the original artistic directors of the Tallahassee Ballet.
Mhm.
Catherine Carcashian, she was very close with Joyce. She was not the artistic director, but she's always been a choreographer for over 30 years with the Tallahassee Ballet. An incredible inspiration to the institution, and they both leave behind an incredible legacy.
Mhm. Yes. Is there any other part of your career that you want to talk about?
There's so much I can say.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, fun times, crazy times, things have happened. Just so people know, it has not always been roses.
Right.
You know, there's ups and downs. I shared this with a few people a while ago. You know, especially when it comes to castings. You know, there were ballets that I really wanted to dance so badly I could taste it, but it wasn't suitable for me. For the lack of there is technique I had or had not, it wasn't for Tyrone Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a learning process. Or because you've been here a long time does not mean you deserve to get. Unfortunately, how things are now, because you're on TV, you get a trophy. Not in my day. You earned that trophy. But casting, and I say because there was one particular ballet that came into Dance Theatre of Harlem, and I was an understudy.
Mm-hmm.
And for like 2 years, I never got a chance to dance. And then the choreographer returned and set it on me. And he said, you could dance it, but you weren't ready for it mentally.
Yeah.
And I understood it when all the attention and energy was on Tyrone Brooks learning this role.
Mm-hmm.
And he was correct. And I said, I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I could do the steps, but really, mentally, I was not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was quite a learning experience.
Yeah.
Because when it was set, I was like, I want to dance this so bad.
Mm-hmm. I've had some of those.
Yeah, but I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I wasn't ready until he was very clear. He came back and said it on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fabulous.
Yeah.
Because I was ready for it. I did my homework.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is as far as casting. And it doesn't mean because you weren't casted that you're not good enough.
Right.
It just wasn't for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, choreographers, you don't know what they're looking for. It may not be something that's dance related or as far as highlights. It could be saying, I want a brunette.
Right.
Or, I like this person just because of their personality. There's something about them that they will be suitable for that role.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's so many variables, you know, and it's a part of being an artist. It's the highs and the lows and injuries. I was fortunate I've only had that one injury during my career.
What was your injury?
It was a torn tendon in my right foot. And I missed a tour, had surgery, and actually, when I realized what it was, we were in San Francisco at the Opera House, and the therapist says, you need to go back to New York and have surgery. I never said a word. I take this foot. I had so much tape on this foot, and I danced the entire week. I was like, I'm not going home.
Oh my goodness.
And Advil and tape, and I got home and I had surgery.
That's scary.
But I was like, I'm not going home. But get this though, something good came out of that too.
Oh.
It was Judy Tyrus,
Oh.
and I'll show this. She was I don't know if she was pregnant or baby. No, she wasn't. It was something. She missed that tour. I missed that tour because of my therapy. This is when we did a photo shoot. We're both in British Vogue
Oh, cool.
with Lord Snowden. Lord Snowden is the Queen's cousin, brother, anyway.
Cool.
So we're in British Vogue.
That's so cool.
British Vogue.
Yes, you should.
I should have Jen. British Vogue? I'm in British Vogue.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's all those things that lead up to as far as my career and things we've done and the people. And I remember getting off the plane in South Africa, the choir, the chorus that met us. Oh, incredible. The voices, you know, and being in Soweto and seeing how the people lived in South Africa. It was 2 weeks prior to us coming to South Africa. The apartheid was lifted.
Yeah.
So the Dance Theatre of Harlem, we could walk on the sidewalks.
Wow.
Prior to that, if we had gotten there sooner, we could only walk on the streets.
Wow.
And I don't know, the tour guide, the people that were close to us when we went to restaurants, we learned so much from them. As far as my complexion, I'm considered brown.
Mm-hmm.
A darker person,
Mm-hmm.
they would wait on me first.
Oh.
They would come and say, "Sir, can I help you?"
Oh my goodness.
So there was a status. So we learned all those things.
Yes. Yes.
We were in Greece for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
The Acropolis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to the dancers about working together. And the sound system just went bloop for about maybe 10 seconds. It seemed longer. We were performing.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorraine Graves, ballet just started counting. The music came back on. We were on the beat. We got a standing ovation.
I just got chills.
Yeah, it was
Cool.
awesome. And we were told, certain things we can't do because, we you talk about people of color, we're different shades of brown. Mr. Mitchell did not like us going out and hanging out in the sun. Because if we did that, they had to redo the lighting.
Oh.
And we did that a few times and he was not happy. So therefore, he brought us in on our day off to redo lighting. Lesson learned. But, which meant you had to redo the lighting.
Yeah.
Because you're darker than before.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Just wonderful. Going to in Israel, going to the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
We were told, don't open your eyes.
Oh,
Don't do it. I did.
No.
Burn.
I believe it.
And going to the Wailing Wall, the Prayer Wall, all those
Yes.
things, and I was in London during Lady Di's wedding.
Yes.
Photographs on trucks and cars, and just incredible. Just
Mm-hmm.
what a blessed career I had.
That's so cool. What was it like dancing in Russia? Because that's like one of my dream places to go
It
at some
was
point in my
awesome.
life.
And do you know, Mr. Mitchell said they were calling my name, Tyrone, Tyrone.
Oh my goodness.
That's when he says, how does it feel to be adored? And I looked at him the next morning. I was like, I don't get it. He's treating him the same. Tyrone. I said, I want you to dance like him. Because I did John Butler's Othello.
Okay.
I was Iago. I was mean. I was fierce. And it was powerful.
Yes.
And he was like, Tyrone. I'll show you a picture in my office of
Okay.
us doing the a press conference with me, Virginia, and Donald.
Mm-hmm. So cool.
We were in Leningrad. We went to Tbilisi. We went to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed in the State Theatre, I think it was.
Okay.
It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken Kiev, all we ate.
Oh.
We smuggled things back, like clothes, and we gave them jeans, and T-shirts, and the people were wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in Cairo, I'm afraid of heights.
Oh.
Everyone else, it was a joke. Everyone else got on a camel. Brooks, Tyrone Brooks. I was not getting on the camel. I rode a horse and buggy, and they laughed at me for the whole time. And I was going to until I got there, and they got on the camel, and it went, oh, I was like, oh, no. Mm-mm.
Oh, that's so funny.
I was not getting on that camel. So I got on a horse and buggy. And they made fun of me, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
But just, but with all that too, there was also a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
We were in West Palm Beach, and one of the girls got in a car accident and died. It was the most devastating thing. We had come from, I don't know, somewhere, and we went to West Palm Beach, and Mr. Mitchell giving us 2 days off.
Mm-hmm.
So, do whatever. 6 o'clock one morning, 5 o'clock, emergency meeting, and we were told that Audrey Conley died. She was hit by a car accident. And it says we were opening with Giselle.
Oh, goodness.
And it was I can't describe how devastating that was for all of us. And they left her spot open in the second act. And Virginia Johnson, who did Giselle, Eddie Shummer, was opera. They were all good until the very end, where one cries and she goes back into her grave. But the people of West Palm Beach were so incredible to us. I mean, their counselors and they were just so wonderful. We would come to the hotels, make sure that we were okay. It was so devastating. You don't expect to hear that.
Right.
And Audrey Conley passed away. The guy that she was with, he survived. But Audrey died. So that was.
That's hard.
But it happens, It was one of those experiences. What do you do? There's nothing you can do about it. But it brings you together as an organization. And this is why I always want to talk to the company as far as we're small, even if we weren't. And we all know there's turmoil and drama with organization, whatever, but it doesn't have to happen here, and it won't happen here because it will destroy us. Because it breaks down that whole family thing, and which is important because then we support each other. Every family is dysfunctional somehow, but we can't have that because what you have in the studio, you bring on stage.
Right.
And that's one thing I'm proud of, is see how the company supports each other. Support. It's just so many people, and, we've met. We did Atlantic City, and guess who was our sponsor? Donald Trump.
Oh, my goodness. When was that?
He,
the 80s?
late 80s.
Oh, my goodness.
With
That's
Atlantic
crazy.
City. He was our sponsor, Donald Trump.
That's
We met him.
crazy. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
We did a special tribute to Lena Horne, New York season. Do you know, have you heard of Alexandra Danilova?
I know the name.
Famous Russian.
Yes.
When I first came, my first season, she was setting Paquita.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And she used to say, pretty flower, pretty flower, pretty flower. And the late Frederick Franklin, Rosella Hightower from Paris, just Jeffrey Holder used to do the Coca-Cola commercials, and just so many people. And we used to sell out. We used to do Kennedy Center every year, every spring, sell out. And having to work with Jerome Robbins, I never thought I was against that ballet. I figured, well, I'm not going to do this. The cast sheet went up. There was Tyrone Brooks. And I did not do the version that I wanted to do.
Right.
Then again, like we were saying earlier, he saw me doing the sweet little boy from Iowa. That's what he used to call me. Brush the clouds.
Which ballet was that?
Fancy Free.
Fancy Free. Yeah.
But what an opportunity to work with Jerome Robbins.
Right.
And he was awesome. We'd heard terrible stories that he wasn't nice, but he was very nice to us. Vicki Simon, another incredible person. She sets balance sheet work. When I first got there, they had just finished setting Fortune Release.
Oh, wow.
And Stars and Stripes and Bugaku, which is a Japanese wedding ceremony. So just working with all these people,
Yeah.
Valerie Bettis, she set A Streetcar Named Desire. which we filmed. That's in Aarhus. We did several television tapings in Aarhus, Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. That was my first television taping. I was a newspaper boy, and Angela Austin from FSU, she was the lady downstairs.
Oh, my goodness.
I think I was about maybe 18, 19.
Wow. Cool.
Mm-hmm. And we did Agnes de Mille's Fall River Legend.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Not so much. You know, being in Aarhus, Tivoli Gardens, and we were in Europe every summer.
Mm-hmm.
Every summer we were in Europe. So having that experience, and I remember being in Israel and watching people walk around with machine guns, whatever. It was no thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that now. It's so different. But there's so much I haven't seen or done.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a lot to say. And two, Mr. Mitchell, awesome. We want us to be good people.
Right.
Like I said earlier, to speak well, to be articulate, to be caught up on current events, because people think Harlem, the negative.
Mm-hmm.
He brought Max Factor, the makeup Mac. He once brought them to Dance Theatre of Harlem for makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, there are different shades of brown.
Yeah.
And he's brought his friends to come and do workshops as far as public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So that we knew how to project our voice.
Yes.
And he had us speak during lecture demonstrations. And he always told us, you never know. I may say, I want you to do this interview when we get off the plane.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted you to be prepared.
Yes.
And if you didn't speak well, if you said something that was wrong, he would correct you.
Mm-hmm.
We were young. We were
Yes.
his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew there were certain things that was not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
We knew, like I said, we didn't go to the airport unless we were dressed well.
Right.
Remember how all that changed years ago with athletes? At one point, athletes would just go to the airport, and then the NBA was like, no, you got to come dressed.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to end it with?
I guess what you get back is what you get back is what you've given.
Mm.
And there's always a dancer somewhere or somehow, as it reminded me, Mr. Bush, remember when? Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, or I don't. Or said somehow we made a difference.
Yes.
And that's what it's about.
Right. Yeah.
I'm done. What can I leave for you to say thank you? If it's nothing but a memory. And sometimes when I watch you all in rehearsal, and I get emotional. I'm like, some things you never get back. And you can't describe it. And that's the beauty of walking in the studio or watching a performance. This is why I'm very honest. I never get nervous before the curtain.
Mm.
Because I have confidence in you guys. It's going to happen. You're going to deliver. Mm-hmm. Of course, peaky things. That's my job.
Right.
But I'm never concerned that it's not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the level of focus, professionalism, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen.
Yes.
And that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is good.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed my wonderful conversation with Tyrone Brooks. To learn more about the Bookish Ballerina Podcast and everything else I am doing at the moment, follow at the.bookish.ballerina or at the.bookish.ballerina.podcast on Instagram. Thank you so much. See you for the next episode.